the cyst had ruptured completely, or it had just partially ruptured, or it was still like slowly bleeding. Hey everyone, today I want to give my story about my hemorrhagic ovarian cyst rupture. This happened on September 23rd. The pain was like a sudden onset pain. It started like around 12 a.m. I was like literally fine 1 second, and then the next minute I was like in pain. So I took some Advil. It did not help at all. I took 2 Advil pills. It did not help. So I kept waking up in the middle of the night with this pain. And at the moment I thought it was just like indigestion or something, and I thought it would go away. So the next morning I woke up, I still had the pain. I got up for breakfast, and just standing up hurt so much. I was literally like bent over in pain. But like I mentioned, I have a very high pain tolerance, and so I kept putting it aside. I didn't think much of it. So I laid down. But as I was laying down, the pain from my abdomen, that sharp stabbing pain, started going up into my right side, all the way up to like my rib cage, and to the point where even breathing hurt. And so it's like when you're running and when you're running and you take a breath and you feel like that stabbing pain in your rib cage. That's how it felt, but I was laying down. And so that's when I realized that I had to go to the ER, because something was definitely not right. And so we did go to the ER. They took me in. They took my vital signs. Everything was normal. My temperature, my blood pressure, everything was just normal. I told them what my symptoms were, and then I waited for like 20 minutes in the waiting room, and then later they got me into a room. When they got me into the room, the doctor came in. He told me that he was going to run some blood tests, urine tests, and ultrasound and a CAT scan. And so I was waiting there. They came in, they put an IV line in. They got some blood. I did the urine test. The nurse came back and she told me that everything looked fine. So there was nothing abnormal in my blood tests or anything. And so I was just waiting there, and I mean, I didn't feel that bad. I was sitting down. But when I laid down again, I started to get that extreme pain radiate all the way to my side. At this moment, I still had the lower abdominal pain, but when I laid down, I started to get that stabbing pain on my side, to the point where I couldn't even breathe. And so at that moment, I like literally started crying and yelling, because the pain was so intense and it was so bad. And then the nurse came in. She's like, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, sweetie?" I think that's what she said. And I was just like, it hurts so bad. And that's when they came in. Because they had offered me pain medication, but because I was still fine. Like, I had really bad pain, but I could tolerate it. So I was like, no, I'm okay without the pain medication. But at that moment, they came in, they gave me Zofran and like 2 other very strong pain medications. And when she gave me that, I just felt like the pain was like going away a little bit, but I felt so dizzy, and I was just like, I feel so dizzy. Is this normal? And she was just like, yeah, those are just side effects of the pain medication. And so I started to feel really nauseous and very sleepy. And I still had the pain. I could still feel it, but it was not as intense as it was. So that's when things started to speed up, I guess, because I realized that my pain was just really strong, and that there was obviously something wrong with me. That they took me in right away for a CAT scan. When I got in the CAT scan, they put in a dye through my IV line that I had, and he told me that it was going to feel really hot and that I was going to feel like I had to go pee. And so I was like, oh my God, this is just what I need, because not really, just because I already felt really bad because of the medication, and now he was gonna put something else in me. So anyway, at the moment, I didn't really care, because I just wanted to know what was wrong with me. And so I went through all that, and they took me back into the room. And then like 10 minutes later, another lady, she took me away for a ultrasound, and there they did the ultrasound. It took about like 10 minutes, and then she also told me they had to do a vaginal ultrasound so they could go in and take pictures. So after all that was done, I went back into the room. It was like 20-30 minutes, and the doctor came in and he told me that I had a hemorrhagic ovarian cyst that had ruptured, and that I had bled into my abdominal cavity. And so at that moment, I just had a whole bunch of questions like do I need surgery or anything? And so he was just like, it wasn't an emergency, just because my vital signs and my blood count, everything was just normal. So he didn't think it was an emergency at the time. But he said I would be able to go home, but I had to follow up with my OBGYN in 2 days. And so they sent me home with Norco, which is a very strong pain medication. They sent me home with that, and they told me to follow up. So during those 2 days, the next day I called my OBGYN and I scheduled an appointment. I didn't get my appointment until 3 days later. And so during that time, I did not go to work because I was still in a lot of pain. And when I slept, I had to sleep sitting up, just because when I laid down, it was so painful. And then I ended up researching that, and it showed that because I had blood into my abdominal cavity, that when I laid down, like blood would like flow up into like the lung area, and so it was like putting pressure on my lungs, and I couldn't like fully expand my lungs. And so when I would breathe or I would laugh or I would it would hurt so bad. I could not laugh. So I would sleep sitting up, and the 2 days after, the pain was much better. The lower abdominal pain, I did not feel the side pain anymore. But I just felt really, really, really bloated. I felt like I couldn't eat because I was full. And so it was because of the blood that had flowed into the abdominal cavity. It had caused my stomach lining to become inflamed. And so that's why I felt so bloated and so full. And all I did was, I did not eat very much. I mean, I did eat because I was hungry, but I didn't eat very much just because I felt so full. Most of what I was doing, I was just drinking a lot of fluids, and that's pretty much it. Because I had so much bleeding, I was recommended to drink beet juice. And anyway, so just 3 days that I was just waiting for my appointment. I didn't know if I was going to need surgery. I didn't know if the cyst had ruptured completely, or it had just partially ruptured, or it was still like slowly bleeding. I didn't know that. So I didn't go to work like I mentioned. I just stayed home and took it easy until I knew what was going on exactly. So today I went in with my doctor, and she told me that everything looked much better and my symptoms are much better as well. I don't have as much pain. I have a little bit of pain, and I still feel a little bit bloated, but she said that everything looks fine. I do not need any kind of surgery, and she just recommended that I start on oral contraceptives to prevent any further ovarian cysts. And so I am so happy with the results because I don't need surgery. And so that's my story. And if you have a story and you would like to share it, you can share it down below in the comments, or you can search for me on Instagram and tell me your story. And if you have any questions, you can ask here, or you can also message me on my Instagram, which will be in the description. And if you like this video, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.